It's not limited to Indians, not limited to Indian Americans. And, it's universal. And it's not even limited, by the way, to spiritual seekers. I think people who do not consider themselves spiritual seekers are dealing with these issues all the time. I mean, I constantly encounter people among my friends and acquaintances and others who are dissatisfied with aspects of their life, but seem locked in some pattern, and they can't seem to get out of it. They can't seem to quite know what they want. They can't seem to be quite motivated to pursue what they seem to want or seem that would be good for them. They are in relationships, perhaps, that they also, are not certain about and have issues with. And they don't know how to extract themselves from those patterns either. And so these are like the human problem. And as far as I'm concerned, the psyche is where, and maybe the spiritual too, yes, these are linked, is where the real anvil, the real anvil of change can be hammered out there, and that's fiery sphere, I see it linking, potentially the spiritual, the psychological, and the artistic there, rather than, although I'm not opposed to it, obviously, the political, social, and all that, those are really big things. But I feel like those, when you really look at them, I feel like, this is maybe my bias, might be my prejudice, but I feel like those things are ultimately driven by these very, very, very inner things that are poorly understood. And that's where the real change can happen, is those in that sphere. So, yeah.
So, thank you. Out of all this, what clarity did you get? What is it that you felt this approach to looking at, through psychoanalysis and some of it, what kind of concepts or what kind of identity or what is it that you got out of it that helped you further?
I think what happens is that over the course of getting to know yourself better, which, as I say, includes psychoanalysis, but is not limited to it, right? Includes exploration, understanding of my own desires better. There's basically a greater connection with your own emotions, a greater sense of what it is that you want, and less in the sense, I think there's energy that's usually locked up in not seeing what it is that we actually want. That energy becomes freed.
Right.
So that energy, which would normally be unavailable, and the lack of energy then resulting in like anxiety and depression and aimlessness and all of that, right? And blocks of the spiritual search, basically, right? That energy becomes freed up, and you become free to live more authentically. In that authentic living, you then have more ability to concentrate on the spiritual search, right? Because you're no longer fighting yourself. You're no longer fighting to maintain a false conception of yourself that is detached from the underlying emotional realities. So, that's a constant inner struggle that you're then freed from to some extent. It's never perfect, but to some extent that's alleviated, and then things open up. I think that's what happens, basically.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, Akilesh. Yeah, I mean, because young people who will listen to this interview will also benefit a lot more, because when I work with youth, I hear this quite a bit. And some of these are not necessarily addressed or understood. Only thing I feel is that this is not limited to an Indian American or an Indian kid or an American kid. What is your feeling? Do you feel what you went through is unique to you, or?
Of course not. I mean, I think everyone is going through these struggles, and that's why I have recommended something like psychoanalysis to a lot of people. Why psychoanalysis? Again, because I feel like it's not the only way that people change, of course, but it's just my first line approach. I think people can investigate themselves in other ways as well that can be helpful, like things just simple as journaling and artistic expression, and various kinds of new friendships. Relationships change people, right? Romantic relationships, friendship relationships, group relationships, they all change people. They can all help people see parts of themselves they couldn't otherwise see. But analysis, I think, is probably the best modern technology for it, you might say.